introduction here before we get started. As I've kind of mentioned, this is, I think, for sure one of our most anticipated calls of the year. For a while, obviously, we made the transition. For those of you that have been around for a while, we kind of made the transition, a little bit of kicking and screaming over to MX Connect earlier this year. Just learning a whole new process, a whole new structure of how to do things. Obviously being different than MX ISO, but a lot of positives about MX Connect as well. Obviously, a lot more tools, a lot more functionality, a lot more reporting capabilities, the ability to dive deeper into things, just a more modern interface with a lot more opportunities and options. And so, one of the things that we've been working on for a while, and we're excited to kind of officially launch today, that Scott's going to be showing, is a new role in MX Connect that now allows you to fully see your compensation, along with many other things. Before we were doing a lot of that internally, just making sure everything was ready. There were some few things that had to be kind of baked out. But now that that's there, this now gives you the ability to, look at your own compensation, amongst with many other things. So I'm excited about that. The other kind of caveat I wanted to give before we go into this is that Scott's going to be using a portfolio here that is a fake portfolio. So don't get locked up on, oh, I know who that person's name is, or look at those numbers or anything like that. It's a fake portfolio that we had created for this process. So don't want anyone to think that we're using somebody's live portfolio or that's live data. We created a portfolio for this purpose for Scott to be able to do this presentation. So Scott, without further ado, and Scott, by the way, before I turn it over, Scott is an amazing resource for everything Connect. He's somebody we really lean upon. He's somebody who's been involved in this since day one of this project, and so we're really thrilled and actually honored to have Scott here to be able to kick this off for us and do it. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing training session. So Scott, I'll turn it over to you, brother.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, team. It's definitely a pleasure being able to meet with all of you and talk through Connect. A little bit about myself. My name is Scott Derryberry. I'm Vice President of Business Process Transformation here at Priority. So basically what that means is I work with new products, new processes, a lot of the story development for MX Connect. I'm working with our dev team, with our business operations team, basically hearing feedback from our customers, internally, externally, and trying to make that happen within Connect, as well as other build outs. I've been with Priority for about 15 years now. So since 2009, been in the same suite over here in Alpharetta since I came over. And prior to that, I was with WorldPay since 1995. It was a company called Link Systems and then acquired by WorldPay. So been in the industry for almost 30 years now. It's ever changing, but really there's a lot of similar things that occur. So really it's great to be able to speak with all of you and talk about what we can offer within Connect. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll jump right in. So bear with me for a moment. Here we are. So we're going to talk through a couple of different sections today. We'll definitely talk about compensation first, which is under the operations tab. I'm going to walk through reporting at a high level and some tips and tricks that you can do there. We're going to talk about what a product is. In Connect, we have a product concept, so I will speak on that. And then from there, we'll just have so those are really the three main points that we will talk through. And after that, we'll open it up for QA, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. So let's go ahead and get started. So can everyone see my screen okay? You see the red banner at the top, and we're on the dashboard here, 19 accounts. So when you log into Connect, this is going to be a very similar screen for you. You'll be able to log in, you'll be able to see your accounts, your clients, locations, and accounts. Clients basically means legal entity, locations means the actual physical location, and account means product. And we'll dive into product as we look into statements. So with that, if you have only had access previously to the dashboard section, the merchant section, and reporting section, section, you'll see now we have this operations section below. And that's where essentially comp lives. So if I open that up, and then I've got attrition reporting, audit, that's more of an internal audit. And then let's focus on billing, which is our third option here. And we'll expand that out. So within operations, billing, I have a few options here. I have ledger, statements, and reports. So statements is where I would like you to go. If you're following along, great. You don't have to. We'll definitely show everything on screen. We are recording. So if I click on statements here, we'll give a moment to refresh, but this basically will take you into our comp system. This is where you can pick up a merchant statement and you can see high level residual information. Now, one thing to note when you log in, this is giving you a last 90 days view. So what I normally do if I'm looking at, I'll go to the specific period. So I'll do a filter and I'll choose period. And then I will choose, let's choose September for example purposes. And so because we bill monthly and our comp is paid monthly, then this is the best view to see for the month of September what our numbers are. So we're going to filter by that at first, and then it gives us 3 returns here with 3 merchants. To talk about this report high level, you're going to have high level information. And again, we're filtered by the month of September. And we have for volume, we have $305,264.05. For those 3 merchants, that's the total volume amount that they've processed. And you can see it really broken down below, and that math kind of rolls up. Total transaction count is the next column to the right. So of all merchants, you can see this, the Mercer's restaurant is makes up the majority with 6,200 transactions, but all in with the 3 merchants for the period of September, we've got a count of 7,923. Okay. Average ticket is simply dividing the train count by the monthly volume. So that gives us an average, and that's useful information just to understand what your average tickets are, especially if you're pricing flat rate. You can kind of see where most of your merchants' average tickets would be. Next is the total number of merchant accounts. And again, because we're filtered by period, that's not including anything that was boarded in October. That's just billable for the month. So in the month of September, we had 3 billable accounts. Okay. Next column, high level information, merchant revenue. This is the total amount that we bill the merchants on their statement. So of the 305,000 in volume, for all 3 merchants, we billed in total $6,175.92. Next line item over is cost of service. So basically you take cost of service is the cost of processing, so your Schedule A cost. And if you deduct merchant revenue from cost of service, then you're left with your overall gross profit. And so that is cost of sales is if you have downlines in their revenue and you pass the income down. If you see a number here, that would be what you're paying anyone downstream to you. If you don't, then your gross profit is going to equal your gain and loss. So bottom line, this total gain and loss number, that is what for this fictitious login, this is the earnings for the month of September based off of the volume and tran count. So I'll pause there for a quick moment. Does that make sense to everyone just at high level? And you can throw a comment in the chat.
Yes.
Yep. Perfect.
Hey Scott,
Okay.
I wanted to throw something out there just to help people because this
Sure.
was actually, I think it was Junior in our office brought this up. It's just a quick, easy way to remember that line there that says cost of sales, which as Scott mentioned would be if you had any sub agents or downline under you. If you think of it as like cost of sales agents, It's a quick way to be like, oh yeah, that's the
That's a
downline.
great way
So
to.
it was a quick, easy way. It made me remember what that line was for.
Yeah, that's a great analogy for it. So yeah, that's basically cost of your sales agents downstream. All right. So with this, you can see individual gain and loss per merchant. And then you can see the cumulative up top. So the top header is probably what you're going to pay attention to most, to balance payout. But then if you're doing research, you could go through each merchant and then you could see your gain and loss. You can see their high level metrics. And if you had any questions, you can always click on any one of these merchants. So we'll click on this first merchant, Marcel's Bar and Grill. And this is going to take you to our statement report. So this is the actual merchant statement that was pushed through MX Merchant for our merchants to pick up. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about, and this is something that's very flexible with Connect, is that we offer up to 7 different statement views. So we offer a summary, category, key 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So essentially, what that is a summary statement is going to give you just this high level detail. You can see there's no volume listed, no rate listed. For a flat rate merchant, this may work well, or a category merchant. They know what they're paying, or a category view. But we do have the capability to show up to 7 different statement views. And the detail expands on the statement as you open up the categories. Now, I know PayCompass corporately is looking at the best match per interchange method or billing method. So I know there will be some decisions and some suggestions as to you may want to show category or key 1 for your flat rate customers. You may want to show key 3 for your interchange plus customers. But the good thing is let's say you go with a summary statement. If someone wants the detail, you could always just, print a PDF of your view of the statement versus what the merchant sees and send it to them for a more itemized statement. So with that, what's great with Connect is we give you more flexibility to where you can essentially offer different pricing views based off of need. So most other processors, you get what you get. If it's TSYS, you get the boarded, you get the TSYS statement. If it's First Data, you get the First Data Omaha or North backend statement. You don't have any control over that view. So PayCompass will have, as an organization, will have a great, control over this. So I see a couple of notes in the chat here. Chad loves these statements, lol. And then I see, can you show me what statement type breaks out EBT? That's a great question. So with that, generally speaking, I would say your flat rate and would best be served with a basic statement. You could go to key 1. EBT is going to be past key 3. I believe it'll be key 3 through key 5. I don't have an EBT example to show you, but let's pull a key 3, for example. This is let's take a look at this merchant. Looks like they're being charged authorization fee only. They're paying card network fees. So you see all of your interchange fees here. If there was discount, it would be in this section here. If there was EBT item, so a sales item fee, it would be in this section. I may want to switch. This is a pass-through, but it looks like it's pass-through pennies is this example. So you can see the interchange in this section. You can see all of the breakout of the interchange rates where everything cleared at. Other processing fees here at the bottom of the statement. You see the non-compliance fee. You see a recurring monthly service fee of $150. And then batch details, of course. Now, one caveat with batch details, this is just what the merchants listed batches that were settled in the month. When we use TSYS, basically to for billing, especially on the TISA statement. Their closing date for their monthly file is on the last business day of the month in the middle of the day. So it's going to be difficult to reconcile 100% for every settled batch because of carryover. So that's just the way that TSIS closes their month end. But we do list out every batch that, and this is an Omaha statement, but we list out every batch that is settled within the calendar month here. So let me take a look. I see a couple of questions.
So folks, real quick, I'm going to address just a couple quick things. Like Scott said, we recently just discovered that we kind of have the ability to select, and that kind of answers your question, Chad, to select the actual statement per merchant. So what we're going to do is we're doing a project right now. We literally just discovered this last couple of days. So we thought we had to kind of select one for the entire portfolio, but we can actually select one that, let's say, this merchant gets this statement, this merchant can see that statement. So what we're going to do is kind of create a policy that we'll share with all of you that'll say, hey, for flat rate merchants, and we'll get your input before we do it, of course, but is for flat rate merchants for people that are on dual pricing or what have you, that they'll get, let's say, the standard, or they'll get the category one, whatever the right one is, and then all interchange plus will get key 3. All everybody with EBT, let's say, will get key 5 or whatever. And I'm just using examples here; those aren't the exact ones. But we're going to create that, and then as part of the once the account's approved, part of that kind of implementation process, we'll select the correct one based on that category of merchant. Obviously, giving you the ability to change it if you want to change it for that specific merchant. We'll just kind of have a blanket policy if that's what we're going to do, which should apply to 95% of merchants, and will be the correct one then. So the people that the interchange plus, where we want them to see that detail, we'll then have that detail. The flat rates, where we just want that summary to be there, they'll just have that summary.
Hey, Justin, would it be, some of us I know want different views for different merchants pretty regularly. What about just having like check boxes on the contracts that when we're doing it on Navigo, we can just click which view we want for that merchant?
Yeah, we can do that. I just, but in lieu of, I'm thinking 99% of the time you're going to want flat rate to always have the same flat rate, right? I think it's going to apply to a vast majority of them, but I'm open to anything on it, honestly. Yeah. Yeah. But we didn't realize that we could do this on per merchant basis. So that's huge. That gives us the flexibility to not have to, make a blanket statement across all of them. Gives that flexibility to, the feedback you guys, had, is that you want to have, obviously, interchange plus be able to see all the details, which makes sense. We want that as well, but flat rate doesn't want to see all that stuff, right? So let's make sure we just kind of throw them in the right buckets. And I think that if, hey, if that bucket doesn't apply to that particular merchant, then tell us, right? For that specific one, we can definitely do that for sure.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. But I'm open to conversation on any of it for sure.
Yep. One other question: is there a standard view the merchant sees? So if you don't default anything, then it would be the summary view. And that gets pushed out and I'll show you where that is in the client record. But you can set defaults, and I know that discussion is new to everyone. So you can make some targeted decisions and set the standard for however you want per billing method. I think that's what's great is you can set a standard, you can push it out to the merchant. If the merchant has any questions, you can always send them a statement with less or more detail. So that's definitely why we gave you the option. So moving on. So this is your statement. You can see, our normal format here. With that, let's say if you had any questions on the way the merchant's priced, there's a couple of options here. We have go to Ledger, and Ledger will save for another time. The Ledger is a little bit more complicated. It's an Excel view of essentially everything here. This is the easiest and best way to manage it when you're working with your merchants. But let's say you wanted to double check the merchant pricing. You can just simply click on view pricing, and then Connect will create a second tab. Bear with me, I'm presenting, so that may take a second. And then it's going to take you straight over to the merchant record. onto the pricing page. So you can go ahead and cross-reference between the statement and the merchant's pricing. So we said, see how this merchant is, I think we said it was passed through pennies. It certainly, you can see all of your auth fees here. My discount is at 0. So that's exactly the pricing. And so that view allows you to very quickly, if you see a pricing issue, maybe you're not getting the residual you expected on an account for research, you can just quickly jump over to the account and perform that research as needed. Okay. Mention the statement view. I can show you exactly where that's selected. On the merchant record, on the miscellaneous tab on the general page, this is where you set it. So you same options. If with that, you would set that, and then the Pay Compass team would actually save it for you, and then they would push down the view to the merchant. This goes straight to MX Merchant. All right, let me just check the chat for, do we ever fix the glitch here in MX Connect where you can't access? We are that. There is an open TSD, Albert. With that, I'm working with Kayla and RM. I'm seeing from time to time where you may see this UAR error. And essentially, that's where a merchant may have been moved within the hierarchy, or there may have been some adjustment. So with that, I know there was an example that came in, I think this week, that Kayla's got, and she's escalating. So we are working on it. You're very welcome. All right. So we talked about statements. That's where you would go to view statements, is on the, again, operations tab, billing, statements. Remember to select the period that you're looking for. And from there, you can then see, and now we're looking at October, you can see that count went from 3 to 5. So it's going to show you the billable merchants in that month.
Now, Scott, I can save that filter, correct?
You can save. And one great thing about Connect is any view anywhere, generally speaking, within Connect, you can save that view. And so what you can do is click on the 3 dots. You'll see these pretty much in every report. I'll click on Save Filters. I can save this as default. So if I wanted to always look at October, then I could save that as a default. I wouldn't do that for this. This is, you want to go month over month. But if I wanted to save this and name it, I'll add a save filter. Let's just name it and apply it. What happens in Connect is then let's move over to the dashboard. So we're out of the statement view. Now you have a save filter here. And if you click on it, it brings you right back to comp with your filter applied. That logic works everywhere within Connect pretty much. So if I'm on the merchant grid, if I, for example, want to filter, create a couple of different views. So let's just create a few filters here. Say I wanted to see all my TSYS, filter by status, approved. I could save a filter, add a save filter. You can also manage and remove the filters as you need by clicking on remove. Oh, bear with me. Let me apply that. Here we go. So now you can have as many saved views as you want. If you save this as a default, which is the middle option, then every time you go to this grid, it would be default filtered to TSYS and approved. But for research, for working with your merchants, if you wanted to have a separate TSYS approved, Fiserv Omaha, Fiserv North approved, pending accounts, you can basically filter by anything, apply it, and you can have as many filters as you'd like.
Yeah, I had a question.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. This is circling back to statements. I don't know if this makes a difference to you guys, but it does to me. So I was playing around with one of my merchants, and the different keys for the different statements. There wasn't one for it wasn't showing pass through for it. Is there a reason for that, or is this because that wasn't one of the keys that was pre-set for the statement types?
So you were looking, let me just grab a merchant example. So you were in statements.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you were going through the statement views here.
Correct. And there wasn't one showing interchange for it pass through.
That's right. But because we have essentially many different statement combinations within Connect,
Mm-hmm.
uh, we don't bucket it as pass through, flat rate. The PayCompass team has the access to create customized pricing templates. That's something that is definitely a feature within Connect. So we don't have traditional views. We pretty much, it's the same keys and categories that make up pass through as they do flat rate. You're just removing interchange, for example. So that's why we list out how the keys are presented in the hierarchy. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Sure.
Misai,
Uh,
do you mean like key three wasn't there? 'Cause key three shows all the detail.
the one I was looking at, key three, just showed. Let me pull it up.
Just get a little bit of lag there. Bear with me.
Let's see. Let me go back into mine.
And Scott, could that be because it was a boarded in ISO agent?
It could be. That's one thing. So one caveat, and thank you. That's a very important topic. So the statements that you see here will be accounts that are boarded within Connect. You won't see merchant data in the statement report for MXA boarded. You won't see an item at all. So I would need to get the mid. I could look into that issue and see. So it depends. So if you're not seeing where the interchange rates are passed through, I would click on that pricing button and jump over to the merchant's pricing just to make sure that the pricing's selected on the record.
All right. I'll work with
Misai,
you on
send
that.
it to us. Yeah, send it
No,
to
that's
us.
fine.
We'll look
You
at
can
it.
take a look.
Yeah.
I'll swing by the office today. We'll talk about it there.
All right. And I'm getting a
Okay.
little bit of lag so on statements right now. So let
Yeah.
me
Mine's not pulling up.
let's segue over to reporting. So wanted to talk through reporting. So with basically we have all of our platforms have reporting listed on the left-hand nav as well as the merchant record. And so with that, one big difference from ISO, for example, is we get every bit of reporting from the platforms here. We get authorization reports on Fiserv Omaha, for example. We never had that in ISO agent. We've got clearing. We've got disputes. Visa has their own category for disputes, processor notes. With that, we have much more comprehensive reporting in Connect than we did in ISO. It was a little more pre-canned there. And so we have it in two different places. We have it in the merchant record. And then for the left-hand navigation bar, I would say you would work here if you're looking at more macro reporting. So macro, I would say, is on the left-hand nav. When you go into the merchant record, that's when you're just looking at a particular merchant. So for example, if I wanted to see all of my First Data Omaha merchants that cleared at regulated restaurant debit, then I could do that for multiple merchants. Any combination you need. If you're looking at disputes and you're wanting to see, thank goodness there's no disputes on this. You know, the less disputes, the better. But if you did want to create a report by a certain dispute reason code, you could do it. And again, wherever within Connect, you have a save filter option. You can save your view with the filters, create your own custom reporting down here in the save filter section. Feel free to use as many filters as you like. That's really, you know, for reporting, we have macro and micro. reporting, macro coming in from the processors. This is their direct feeds. One item as well, generally everything within reports, if you click on it, you can click into more detail. So if I wanted to click on a specific transaction, I can see the qualification description on the clearing report, CPS, small ticket regulated. I can see the amount of sale. I can see the settled element. I can see all the components of a transaction, for example, in the clearing reports, in the settled detail. We get pretty much everything here. And that's great for research. Let's say it's a B2B customer and they weren't hitting the level 3 qualification, large ticket qualification, and they were downgrading. Then I could go in and look at the purchase card data that they sent up with the transaction to see if they're passing the appropriate data. This is great for even, just key entered customers. If they're not passing ABS, for example, you could go in and look. I can see what the merchant passed in the components of the transaction here. So ABS and street. So if someone has a regular transaction that they keyed in, a retail merchant, they didn't use ABS, you could see that the lack of data or the data here. Any questions while we're going through reports? Okay. One thing that we do create within Connect as well. Let me just pick a random report. We'll go to authorizations. We do create the ability. So if you're clicking into a transaction, let me click here. We always give you a point to jump over to the merchant account. So if you're looking at macro reporting for authorizations, you can click here, click on go to merchant account, and it will take you straight over to the client record. So a couple of things. I think the lag, we are on a GoToMeeting and I'm impersonating at the same time. So that just definitely makes it a little slower. All right, so we jumped off of the auth report over to the merchant record. All of our reporting is basically replicated replicated within the merchant record. So you can, if you have a phone call from Marcel's and they're asking for a deposit, for example, you would go to the ACH funding department and you could give them a trace number or you could research deposits here. So everything we make it fully available. I'm going to stop there. Any questions? Any questions that you may have?
Scott, I think there was one in the chat about real-time data.
Sure.
Jack, I think, Jack, you would see the data is not real time. It's based upon the batches that would have came through from yesterday. But it would be, as soon as it's provided to us from the card brands, from the processors, and we have it, but it's not instantaneous.
Yeah, there's a few reports that are close. So Fiserv, generally everything's a daily, weekly, or monthly. Your auth data is always the day later. For Omaha auths, for Nashville auths, it's a week report. And then the settled is a day later. TSYS authorizations we get a little quicker. TSYS we get, I believe it's every 15 minutes. And then MX merchant payments should be real time. So if they're processing through our gateway, then you would see those payments pretty much, I would say, within a few minutes of when it was processed. So there is some real-time capability. It really depends on the platform and how often we pick up the file, Justin, to your point.
Scott, could you go over the concept, just kind of a high level, going back to like the very beginning, I've logged in, like just some simple stuff like, why are there two different search bars? What's the difference between filter and search, and just some of that high level stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. So we have, and we also want to touch on products too before you go to Q&A. So I'll try and talk about all of this on the client's grid. So in Connect, we have each report has its own search area. So if I'm on the client's grid, so when you go to dashboard, click over to clients, anything that I want to search within this data, then I can do that. One trick is the global filter. So this is a little new. We've changed the format on this. The filter box up here is has always been there, but we've really added some itemization. One item is, for example, CRM. So let's say I wanted to look at all of my MX ISO agent accounts. Let me filter that status by approved. I could then create a save filter. This global filter controls what data is presented here by label. And everything in Connect is categorized essentially by a label, whether it's a partner chain, whether it's the platform, the product, which we'll go into. This gives us the ability to refine searches and create custom reports. So if you, under your user, wanted to create an MX ISO report for approved accounts, you could filter out products. Everything in Connect is a product. TSYS, Pfizer of Omaha, MX Merchant, Passport. You can really, and then billing always occurs under the acquiring products, but you could, for example, I just want to see my MX Merchant accounts on MX ISO agent. I could use the two filters in conjunction, and I could really find the data that I want. You can also, we have MX Connect as a CRM. So if I wanted to look at my Connect boarded, I could do that as well. I could always save that. Let's filter. Let me take off the MX Merchant product. Let's filter by available products. Here you see Fiserv North, which is only offered in Connect, now shows up as a product option. So if I wanted to choose Connect boarded, Fiserv North, status approved, I can see for this this user, we have one boarded Fiserv North account. Does that make sense to everyone? Let me look at the chat.
Chad,
All
I
right.
can answer that question. No, you'll not see Evolve in here. That's a whole different sponsor bank relationship, so that will not be in here.
Gotcha. Okay. Top 25 month to date reporting. Awesome. Yes, we are working on that. That is something that we actually talked about that in the Power Conference. I'm coming out of the Power Conference, got with our developers for Voice of Customers. So all of your feedback and our partners' feedback. So we do have that added to our work stream. I don't have an ETA yet. In talking with the developer, it's something really easy to do. It's something from MXA that we wanted to carry over. So we're definitely working on that. We are working on, for those of you who may not have been at Power Conference or in the presentation that I had for Connect, we are working on a daily volume report as well. So currently, when you're going through MX Connect, if you want to pull your volumes, detailed volume, you have to go platform by platform. So we're creating a summary volume report that will live in reports that will be like daily volume in MXA. So that is another item that we are working on as well. And definitely, if you have any ideas, certainly as a team, filter those up through your organization, and I'm happy to, take a look at those and certainly see if we have something, a story for it, or if we need to build it. Okay. That's the client grid. That is essentially this global filter. Everything in Connect is a label, so you can search by essentially anything. If you have downlines, for example, you could search by partner, and you could see any sub offices, for example, that are there. You can search for merchants here. Labels, we have different labels. One label that, let's see if it's activated, if anyone tripped it. We have a flight risk label. Good thing is we don't see anyone tripping this, but this basically is an attrition label that we created several years back. If someone logs into MX Merchant and pulls 3 consecutive statements, then we will add a flight risk label to it. And we're we're working on more attrition prevention tools like that as well. All right. Questions? Anything I can talk through?
Hello, I had a quick question going back to compensation reporting.
Yes.
You've got the merchant revenue, cost of service, and then gross profit. If I have obviously a split agreement with Justin, I think he takes like 90% of my money. Is that front loaded into my account?
As far as your scheduling?
When I see the gross profit on a particular account, is that what I would expect to be paid? Or is that prior to some Schedule A?
So Schedule A or agreement costs would be in this cost of service column. So this gross profit would be essentially, if you have no downlines, would be your net payout.
And then when you show the downline as cost of sales, if someone is under me, that's an addition to?
So what would happen? So let's say using this as an example, $356.57 in gross profit. And then let's say the cost of sales is $100 that would go down to pay your downline, then your gain and loss would be adjusted for what you're paying downstream here, and it would be $256.57.
Yeah, so think of it as like this way, John, is you're calculating the top, agent first, the kind of parent agent as we call it, and then you're subtracting out what's owed to that sub agent. And so then the difference between that gross profit and gain loss is what would go in the cost of sales. If there is no downline, then it's going to be the same dollar amount.
Okay, so in other words, someone downline from me, their accounts are calculated as a whole under my number, and then the reduction is what's going to them.
You got it. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. All right. Any other questions?
Scott, if you can maybe just kind of talk through I know you have a little bit, but just kind of the concept of products and why that's different here in Connect versus, what we're used to in ISO agent. Like, why did we do it that way, and why is it better?
Yeah, definitely. So products were created in Connect essentially so we could be scalable. So as we have a newer venture or a new service, Connect has the ability to add as many products as we enter into a service agreement for. So with that, for example, eTab is one of our products. We have Passport is a product. And so we designed that in a way that it could be scalable. MXA would have been a lot of dev work to be able to add additional products and services to its architecture. So with that, every product, for example, MX Merchant is a product. We can add a merchant ID to it, which we do, of priority, and it basically calculates the MX Merchant fees, and then it sends the fees over to the TSYS record to bill it. So it's basically designed so we could have scalability. So as we add new services and new tools that we could offer you, then you would see them show up as new products. Justin, was that helpful?
Yeah, Chad, send us that information on that merchant. We're gonna do a project here quickly over the next few days, trying to figure out what are the appropriate statements for each of these type of merchants. We'll make sure we figure out the EBT one for sure.
Okay. All right. Justin, any other areas that you want me to focus on? I'm happy to.
Yeah, no, this has been great. Any other questions out there, guys? Anything else that we're missing on? Try to see if we missed anything in the chat. I don't think so. Scott, you talked a little bit at the Power Conference, and I know it's not. I think it's kind of an interesting just approach. So I think it's something that I've shared with the team as well as the difference in how you're now doing development as opposed to long sprints with multiple things going on, but now short
Yes.
sprints, and how that's going to push out features and results a lot quicker. Um, as Michael called them, not features, but what results or I can't remember what he said exactly. But can you
I
talk to
don't
that maybe a little
remember.
bit?
Yeah.
Why that's a benefit?
Yeah, so historically we've had month-long sprints. So we would try and basically, so we'd have 12 sprints a year, and they would come out with essentially as much quantity per topic, whether it's Connect or MX Merchant. Um, and we've changed that recently. We've gone to a work stream model. And so essentially for our initiatives, like Fiserv North is a newer initiative for us. It has its own work stream where the refinement, when we originally built it, it adds more focus to the areas in which we're developing. If it's merchant funding, we have a merchant funding work stream. I'm involved with one called Voice of the Customer. And so with that, that basically gives a few assigned developers to that portion of the product, assigned QA resources and execution owners to give specific focus to that area. So voice of customer is whether it's, and generally it's enhancement related, like summary volume. The daily volume was missing. We had some customer feedback that, hey, this report is not here. I have to download TSYS, Fiserv North, Fiserv Omaha to really get my data. With that, that feedback was welcomed, and then we created a story for it, pushed it through that work stream, and it helps us deliver a little quicker because we're doing 2-week sprints versus that month sprint. So some new items that I'm working on now too is a partner dashboard, which would be, we're getting close. We're working module by module, but this dashboard is your general dashboard. We're working on making a dashboard that's a little more specific to you. So especially to acquiring and funding as well would benefit. But it'll be a dashboard that is similar in format, but it's going to show you your top merchants with disputes, your top 25 merchants. That's actually where we're going to add that top 25 report. Your volumes, your residual, all on one dashboard. So you don't have to go through the different modules to get it. And then if you need to look into the detail, for example, let's say we show you your top 25 merchants with disputes. You'll see a chart and you'll be able to click into your particular merchant and go straight to the dispute page so you can action it. And so this dashboard that we're working on, we're not just working on displaying the data, but also how you use the data once you're seeing it. So if it's a residual problem, you click on the residual module, it'll take you over to the report. So it's kind of a phase 2 of how we have these custom filters set up, and it'll just make navigation just much easier. But yeah, that's sorry, long answer, but that's why we changed development. It really puts our assigned developers into an area of focus to where we could turn through stories much quicker. And if you have the same team on the same project, then you can just really dial into the need, if it's Fiserv North or Voice of Customer, and really establish your rank of stories, and you don't get backlogged by another initiative. So it's been working very well so far.
I have a quick
Scott,
question.
Jeannie asked a quick question there, and we don't need to talk about it right now if it wasn't, but the daily account approvals disappeared this morning. Is that on purpose, or was that just something messed
It
up?
is absolutely not. I saw that as well. I noticed
Okay.
that it stopped on January 1, 2024.
Yeah.
So I noticed that first thing this morning as well. I opened a ticket. I think there's probably a report parsing issue that happened.
Okay.
So I've got a ticket open to fix that. Not sure why. That is not intentional.
Okay. Okay. we live on that report. So yeah, love it. All right.
Yes, I will make sure. I'll check the status of it as soon as we close the call here. Let me look through. So let's see. We have monthly approvals missing from dashboard. Got that.
Isai, did you have a question there? Was that you?
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking at the PCI compliance report. I got like a crap ton of non-compliant. Is that accurate, up to date?
Yes, it is. So if you do have non-compliant merchants here now, you definitely want to direct them to MX Merchant to take their SAQ, but this should absolutely be accurate.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
And then Scott, can you talk through the transition? Obviously, our first 4 years, lots and lots of thousands of merchants on MXA. I know there's a project to transition that over so that everything lives here, compensation and everything.
Sure.
And I know that's not a quick thing, but can you kind of talk through that to help everybody understand that?
Absolutely. So we have almost completed our MXC conversion. We have two different projects. We have conversion and then we have migration. Conversion is having all of our sales representatives board in Connect versus MXA. So we have to basically stop the new approvals, and that project on MXA is almost complete. With that being said, migration is a little different story. So for a merchant that was boarded in MXA, whether it's Fiserv Omaha or TSYS, all of the pricing, all of the billing, all of the mechanics occur at the TSYS platform or Fiserv North. When you board a merchant into Connect, we control the billing, we control the comp, and essentially the record that lives at TSYS and First Data is just a shell record with card types added and just a few features, but it's a merchant that's pretty much on us at that point. So in order to migrate merchants, we need to make sure, number one, that when we take a merchant, carve it out of MXA essentially and put them into MXC. They're all listed here, but to repoint all the billing, we have to make sure that billing is accurate. And it has to. So we're spending a lot of time going through different pricing methodologies, different platforms, for example, Fiserv versus TSYS and how they process flat rate versus interchange. We have to make sure the billing is 100% accurate. It has to match. Secondly, we have to make sure that payout matches before we can move forward. So that process, there's a lot of mapping between our billing elements and mapping to TSYS, Fiserv North, and Omaha. So that effort has taken a little bit more time, but we are working earnestly towards that.
So just to be clear, everybody, the data you can still see in Connect. So if you want to look up your merchant, the data's all there. It's not a matter of, there are merchants here that were boarded in MXA. So you're seeing all that data. It's there. He kind of showed that earlier, whether it's Connect or ISO agent, you can see that they're there. It's just you're not going to see the choices and statements and the compensation reporting here. So we'll continue to combine those and display those in Navigo and have that detail until that part is completed. Or you can log in and you can see the detail in ISO or in MXA and MXC yourself as well. If you want to see that additional detail, it's all there. But we'll continue to combine them and share them in Navigo and the ways we've been doing them before. But just want to make sure everybody knew how to. The whole goal of this call, the main goal of this call was make sure you guys understood how to find the compensation here and find those details when you want, if and when you want to look them up, that they're there for you.
Definitely.
All right, a few minutes left. Any other questions in it, everybody?
Hey, just a real quick question back to the compliance issue and the reporting. I believe, Scott, that you said that reporting is accurate. And
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
here looking at my accounts, and they do seem to be accurate in regards to the AOC, like the questionnaire. But it appears to me like the scans are not updating. In fact, many of them don't even have dates on them underneath the category of the last compliant scan submitted. So I'm just wondering why that is, or if I'm missing something, because I actually helped a client last week with one of their their PCI scans. Yeah.
So the AOC. So of course, with PCI compliance, you have the self-assessment questionnaire, and depending on the type, that has to be completed by everyone. Some scans are not required. So if it's listed as a B, for example, which is a dial-up terminal, then you would not see a required scan. So if you are seeing data, like let's say it's a SAQA or a C that does require a scan, if you're seeing that it's not, let me know. We can, or certainly send the mid over. It may be we would need to check to make sure that the merchant boarded with a control scan and they've selected the right questionnaire.
Yeah, it's an important thing to remember the difference between
I just wanted to. I'm sorry, Justin. I just wanted to confirm. You said a B, so I have a whole bunch of mine that are listed as a B-IP, and I would think that's not on a phone line. Are those ones required to do the scans or not? I'm a little confused.
I would need to check with the client service team, but I thought that BIP required a scan.
Yeah, I did as well. And I have a whole bunch of those. Yeah.
With PCI, I'm more on the dev side.
Yeah, but trust me, I get it.
We can definitely check. Yes.
Hey, it's Steven Sujay. Hey, I missed part of that question regarding the PCI scan. Yeah, so I'm curious, and I apologize if this is a repeat because I was on another call at the same time.
No worries.
So I've got clients that are using a encrypted terminal that's attached via IP, and it's asking them to do a scan every 3 months, and it's like the clients that prior to that were required to do a scan 3 months were using a POS system where there's a third party like 24/7 or Aloha. So they passed their SAQ. My question is, do they have to keep doing these scans? I mean,
I believe so.
Because their internet, they're using Comcast, which already has the security, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I believe based off of what I remember from when I was managing client service that your terminals that are connected to the net to the internet do have to go through quarterly scanning, and that is certainly to make sure that their network is secure and has no vulnerabilities. But that's the way I remember it from when I was managing client service. That terminals do have to.
Yeah, so most of my clients, the only reason they have the internet so they could use the terminal, and it's using Comcast or not Comcast, whatever they're calling themselves now. They have their security already through them.
I'm pretty certain that even terminals, if it's Ethernet, they've got to perform that quarterly scan.
Yeah, I think the PCI rules. I can distribute those separately, but I believe the PCI rules state that, Stephen. That if it's connected to an internet provider, that its scans are meant to be done every quarter. I believe that's what it is now. Yeah, they're constantly changing that and shifting it, but I believe that's what it is. Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll get some information on there.
You're welcome.
All right, everybody. Well, we're at the top of the hour. It was a great call. I hope everybody got a lot out of this. We're thrilled to introduce the new role that allows you to be able to see your compensation, and we're going to do like I mentioned, we're going to do a project around the statements that will get your input and share more on kind of the default statements we'll use based upon the merchant type. That'll make your life easier, so you don't have to worry about selecting it every time, but you'll have that ability to change it if you want to or ask us to do it. So, Scott, thank you a ton for being here. This call was recorded, so we'll make sure it gets out there for anyone that wants to watch it again.
Yeah, all right. Definitely. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Thank you for having me. I would love to jump on again sometime.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it very much. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.